Hello and welcome to this demonstration on Aviatrix Kickstart. Aviatrix Kickstart is an all-in-one containerized software package that deploys the Aviatrix controller and optionally a global transit use case in AWS and Azure along with test instances in AWS. This drastically simplifies Aviatrix deployment, allowing you to experience the benefit of the Aviatrix cloud networking platform for less than $1 an hour. In this demonstration, the following modular components are installed. There's the Aviatrix controller, the Aviatrix multi-cloud network architecture or MCNA transit in AWS and in Azure that are later peered, and a couple of test instances in AWS. It does this by running a Docker container on your client PC. In my example, I have Docker Desktop running on a Mac. You can also run it on Windows or on Linux. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing to do is run the Docker command to retrieve the Docker Kickstart image and run. Then we're prompted for our AWS access key ID and secret access key. These can be obtained from the AWS console under My Security Credentials. Next, we are asked whether we want to launch the controller. Since I haven't done this before, I will say yes. After that, we're directed to the AWS Marketplace to subscribe to the Aviatrix platform. Click Continue to subscribe and accept the terms and conditions if you already haven't done so. In my case, I had already done that, so I'm ready to proceed. Note that the controller will be built in the AWS US East 1 region. After that, the controller is built and its public IP address is displayed. Some tweaks are done on the controller behind the scenes as it is initialized. Next, I'm asked to enter an email address that will be shared with Aviatrix for support purposes. Then I'm prompted for a recovery email address and a password for the admin account. You can decide whether you want this recovery email address to be the same as the support email address. After doing that, the Aviatrix controller is upgraded. Once it's upgraded, we're asked whether we want to launch the Aviatrix transit in AWS. Note that this transit will be built in AWS US East 2 region, which is in Ohio. I'm going to say yes. It will then build out the 2 spoke VPCs, 2 Aviatrix spoke gateways, 1 transit VPC, and an Aviatrix transit gateway, all in AWS. After the AWS transit is created, we're asked whether we want to launch EC2 test instances in spoke VPCs. Now for this to work, we must have an SSH key pair in the region where the EC2 instances will be created. So I make sure that I am in that region and I import the key pair that I already have on my computer. You can also create a new key pair if you wish. Then make sure that the same name is entered in the configuration file. After the EC2 instances have been created, we are prompted whether we want to build an MCNA transit in Azure. I chose yes, and then the same configuration file is opened. Now for Azure, there are 4 essential pieces of information to successfully onboard an account. We need the subscription ID, the directory ID, which is also known as the tenant ID, the application ID, and the application key, which is also known as the client secret. Aviatrix documentation shows you how to get all of this information, but I'll show you how to do it. The first thing to do is to go to Azure Active Directory Service and register an application. Next, we create a subscription. To do that, we go to Access IAM and we assign a contributor role to the app that we just created. The last piece of information is the application key. For that, we go to Certificates and Secrets. We create a new client secret. We set it to never expire. And that's it. So now I go back to the script and paste these 4 pieces of information, starting with the application key or client secret, the application ID, the directory ID, and the subscription ID. And we're done with Azure onboarding. Once we're done with the onboarding section, we can proceed with building out the Azure Transit. Remember that this is going to create 2 spoke VNets and 1 transit VNet. Inside each spoke VNet, there's going to be an Aviatrix spoke gateway, and inside the transit VNet, there's going to be an Aviatrix transit gateway. And then encrypted active mesh tunnels will be created between the spoke and transit gateways. The final step is to build transit peering between AWS and Azure. Okay, now that everything has been built out, we can take the public IP address of the controller and paste it in a browser. Take a moment to ensure that everything is being built out correctly. You'll see 1 AWS account, 1 Azure account, 3 AWS gateways, 3 Azure gateways, 4 encrypted active mesh tunnels, and transit peering between AWS and Azure. So where to go from here? Well, we recommend that you go through the Kickstart test cases on the community.aviatrix.com website. You'll find various test cases, such as a UI walkthrough, many operations workflows, such as the popular flight path tool and packet capture, and finally, there are basic deployment test cases, such as building your own egress, FQD, and gateway. Thanks for watching this demonstration of Aviatrix Kickstart. We hope you will use it to kickstart your Aviatrix deployments.